Now, earlier we spoke to former England footballer Geoff Thomas about fundraising for leukaemia research. With me now is a leukaemia sufferer, David Wilkins. He relies on a pioneering drug to lead a normal life, and he's been told the drugs he needs may soon be no longer available to him on the NHS. David, welcome to Channel M today.
Evening, Andy.
Initially, you were being treated with what would be described as normal NHS treatment, but did you become immune to that? Is that how this came about?
Yes, I was put on the standard recommended treatment of imatinib, or Gleevec, as it's proprietarily named, and I gradually developed resistance to that drug over something like a 4-year period. So
your medical advisor said what you need is these drugs, which cost quite a considerable sum, I understand.
Broadly speaking, they're double the cost. Dasatinib and nilotinib are approximately £30,000 a year for a prescribed treatment, as compared to £15,000 a year for the imatinib.
And you are receiving this drug currently?
I am indeed, yes, but it has been reported that I would probably continue to receive it, but that's not the case. NICE have put out a statement to the effect that whereas PCTs can currently make their own mind up, once they've made their decision, the NHS will be bound to abide by it.
OK, for those unaware, NICE is the National Institute for Clinical Excellence. They're the people who guide, and the PCTs are the primary care trusts.
Correct, yes.
So when will you find out whether or not this drug is going to be continually available to you?
Well, the committee met in Manchester just last Wednesday, and originally their results were supposed to be published at the end of April, but that's now been brought forward about the end of next month, we're expecting. And
are you optimistic, pessimistic, or remaining with a neutral outlook?
I've no reason to think either way. What brought this to the attention was a petition on the Number 10 website, which generated over 7,700 electronic signatures. So we hope that's had an effect. It's
a familiar case to people in this region, with Tony Wilson and Jean Murphy, both of whom were trying to get Sutent, which is a drug that they needed, and it was unavailable. Jean campaigned vigorously against the PCT in Salford and eventually won, although they said she was a one-off case. If you don't get your way in terms of funding, will you make a case to the PCT?
Well, yes, I'll have to. The options for me are really quite limited. I'm 60 years of age, and the currently recommended treatment is either high-dose imatinib, the cost of which is pretty proportional to the dose in actual fact, so ultimately I don't think it would be vastly different. Or, on the other hand, a bone marrow transplant, which I'm not likely to get or be very successful with, particularly as I don't have a sibling match.
No. I have to put this point to you. It's a quote you'll be familiar with. It's Professor Peter Littlejohns from NICE, who has said there is some evidence to suggest that the drugs that you need could be considered clinically effective in cases of chronic myeloid leukemia, but the quality of the evidence is extremely poor. Couple that with the high cost of the drugs, and the Independent Appraisal Committee could not recommend these drugs as an appropriate use of NHS resources. It's a lot of money, and apparently, according to the professor, the evidence isn't there that they work, David.
Well, it's the way you look at the evidence. Certainly, with these type of drugs, you can't go into double-blind trials where neither the doctor nor the patient knows exactly what's being prescribed. You're playing with people's lives. Yeah. One has to go off the holistic evidence of the treatment that people get, and currently it does seem that as though people are doing very, very well on these second-generation drugs. The evidence is there out in the open. The patients themselves are testimony to the effectiveness of them.
What do you say to the argument that the pharmaceutical companies will offer is that it costs them billions of pounds to develop a drug like this, and thousands of drugs are now available to us very freely that were at one point very expensive when they were new, and that is simply the case? I mean, a few more years down the line, this drug may become considerably cheaper. They've got to recoup their costs, David.
Well, quite so, but they do have an exclusive licence for a period, and it's only fair that they recoup the billions which are written off when they're able to.
OK, well, I wish you the best of luck in your campaign, and yes, if you want to support David, the Downing Street website is the place to go, and you'll find the links there, I'm sure. Thanks, David.
Thank you.